Do you read like a writer? I didn't always read like a writer. It probably took me a good decade or more of writing before I sort of figured out that part of writing is reading. I had a story, a short story that I was working on for a long time. And I remember writing a draft of it and thinking, I've got this. And then I read two short stories, one by Jeffrey Eugenides called Airmail, and another by Jonathan Franzen. I was blown away by the craft of these stories. And I turned around and I looked at my story and I crossed half of it out. Now, we could talk about comparing and we could talk about, just getting our drafts finished, and yes to all of that. And the thing about reading is that it gives us insight into what is possible with the craft. So I didn't know when I started writing this particular story what was possible. And then as I began to read like a writer, I realized that there was so much more to the craft than I understood. And I wanted to know. I was thirsty. The bar, I had raised the bar. And this is, an occupational hazard. And it's okay. It's okay as long as you don't get frozen in it. It's okay to look to somebody else's work and see, wow, that's really impressive. I wonder if I can do that too. Okay, so my point here is that reading is as important to writing as the writing itself. And the reason it's so important is because it enriches our capacity to write the stories that we want to write. What do I mean by that? I mean, when we start writing, we kind of move forward in a very limited way simply because we don't have the skills. And then as we read more, we can try more in our own work and our skill set is amplified, it grows. So I wanted to share with you my experience of reading Virginia Woolf. Now, she's not to everyone's taste, and I'm not suggesting if you don't like her to struggle through with her work and make it work for you. But I love her work. And when you're reading as a writer, it's important to know what you love about somebody's work. So, reading as a writer isn't about just stating opinion. Oh, I like this, I don't like this. It's like, well, what is she doing? What is she doing that's working? And what can I learn and apply to my own work from reading hers? So I thought I'd share with you my great love of To the Lighthouse, one of my favorite novels. I've read it many times. And this is the other thing when you read like a writer, to reread, because you read once for the story and then you read again and again to go deeper and understand the mechanics of what's going on. Now, one of the biggest things that anyone who reads Virginia Woolf will notice is that she goes deep into the consciousness of characters. And that movement is brilliantly executed. And she just goes, right in to the consciousness of the characters for pages and pages sometimes. So if you need to learn interiority for your characters, read Virginia Woolf. She'll show you how to do it. And you may not want to do it for pages and pages as she does. The sensibility of the modern reader has changed, but there is a mechanism there that is bringing the awareness into the interior landscape of the character. So that's one of the major things that I have learned and carried forward from reading Virginia Woolf. The other thing is her marvelous descriptions and metaphors and similes. They're just incomparable. And I love them because I love imagery, but also that she pushes them and they aren't what you would reach for easily. So looking to her for metaphor, for simile, and how she's working with them within the voice and range of the character consciousness she is attending to. So those are two elements that I love particularly about Virginia Woolf. The other thing that she does that I'm still trying to figure out is the relate the relationship the characters have to greater consciousness. So not just their inner consciousness, but their relationship to awareness itself and a kind of spiritual understanding of the world that's really profound and beautiful and doesn't feel imposed upon, but actually something that arises from within. So those are three really key things that I've learned from this particular writer. There are lots of other writers that I read and reread and have learned lots from, like Alice Munro, like Charles Baxter, like Miriam Taves. You know, I learn from almost every writer that I read, and sometimes I don't love the writer and I still learn. I still learn what I don't want to do. So reading as a writer is just as important as writing itself. So go ahead, look at your bookshelf and ask yourself, what book can I reread? And what can I learn from the writer that I most admire?